The desperate cry of the night on the colony was quiet, only the wind moving through broken metal streets, when a sudden scream cut through the silence. It was not human. It was high and sharp, full of fear. People in the market froze, looking toward the sound. A young alien mother stumbled forward, her arms shaking. In her hands was a small bundle wrapped in silver cloth. Her eyes were wide with panic. Tears streamed down her pale face. "Please, someone help," she cried. "My baby. She won't wake up." The aliens around her stepped back, whispering to each other. None moved closer. Their faces turned cold. They shook their heads. One muttered, "It is cursed." Another hissed, "Stay away." The mother's cry grew louder, her baby's tiny chest was still. No breath, no sound. Among the crowd stood a human. His name was Daniel. He had been repairing a broken generator when he heard the scream. His heart pounded as he saw the mother kneeling on the ground, her baby limp in her arms. Daniel ran forward while the others only watched. "What happened?" Daniel asked. Dropping beside her, the mother's voice shook. She was sleeping. Then she stopped breathing. "I tried everything. She will not wake." Her words broke into sobs. Daniel carefully looked at the child. The baby's skin glowed, faintly blue, unlike any human child. But her tiny fingers were curled just like any baby's hand. Her lips had turned pale. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. "Move back," he told the mother gently. "I need to try." His hands shook. He had basic medical training back on Earth. But this was no human baby. And yet, how could he just stand and do nothing? The mother clutched his arm, her eyes begging, "Please, human, they will not help me. You are the only one." Her voice was raw, full of desperation. Daniel pressed his ear near the baby's mouth. No breath. He pressed 2 fingers to her tiny neck. No pulse he could feel. Panic clawed at him, but he forced himself to stay calm. The crowd whispered louder. Some laughed coldly. "The human thinks he can save it," one said. Another spat on the ground. "Let the child go. It is fate." Daniel ignored them. He tilted the baby's head back, gently opened her mouth, and began giving small breaths. The alien mother held her hands to her face, watching in terror. Seconds passed like hours. Nothing happened. Daniel pressed 2 fingers to the chest and pushed down in rhythm. His mind screamed, "Please breathe, please." The baby's head rolled slightly, but still no sound. The mother's sobs filled the air, her body shaking as she whispered prayers in her own language. The crowd grew restless. Some turned away, others muttered about curses. Daniel did not stop. Sweat dripped down his forehead. His arms ached, but he pressed again and again, then gave another breath. And suddenly, the baby twitched. A small cough, so faint it could be missed. The mother gasped. "Did you hear that?" she cried. Daniel leaned closer, hope flaring in his chest. But the baby's chest fell still again. The cough was gone. Silence returned. Heavier than before, the hope faded into fear once more. Daniel's face tightened. He looked up at the mother. "She's not gone yet," he said firmly. "I will not let her go." His voice carried through the crowd. Strong and steady, the aliens watching fell silent. The mother gripped his sleeve, her eyes shining with both terror and desperate trust. "Then save her," she whispered. "Please, human, you must." And so the night of fear had only begun, with 1 human and 1 alien mother fighting against death itself, while a colony of cold eyes watched in silence. The refusal of others, the baby lay still in Daniel's arms, her tiny body light but heavy with silence. The alien mother knelt beside him, her trembling hands reaching out as if afraid her child would slip away. Daniel's face was pale, sweat dripping as he tried again to breathe life into her. The crowd of aliens only stared. their cold eyes glittering in the dim light of the colony square. None stepped forward, none offered help. Instead, they whispered among themselves, "Why is he trying? It is useless." One said, "Humans are weak. They cannot even save their own." Another sneered. The mother turned toward them, her voice cracked with desperation. "Please, any of you, help us. She is only a child." Her words echoed in the still air, but no one moved. One alien shook his head firmly. "The child is cursed. Do not fight fate." Another hissed, "If you try to save her, the curse will fall on us all." Daniel looked up in shock, his jaw tight. "You really believe that?" he asked, his voice sharp. "You would rather watch a baby die than try." But they only lowered their eyes, turning away, their fear stronger than compassion. The mother broke into sobs, clutching her chest. Her people had abandoned her. She was alone, except for the human stranger beside her. Daniel's heart burned at the sight. He had known humans could be cruel too, but never to a child, never this cold. "I don't care what they say," Daniel muttered, his voice low but steady. "I won't stop." He looked at the baby's still face, her delicate features so fragile, her faint glow dimming. She looked like a fading star. And he refused to let her go dark. The mother grabbed his sleeve, her eyes wide with fear and hope. "You are all I have," she whispered. "Please don't leave me." Daniel nodded. "I won't." His tone was firm, more like a promise to himself than to her. He shifted the baby in his arms, feeling how cold her skin was becoming. Time was running out. Around them, the aliens began to leave one by one, shaking their heads, muttering curses under their breath. Only a few stayed to watch, their expressions mixed with fear and curiosity, but not a single one offered help. The mother's tears dripped onto her child's face. She whispered softly in her own language, words Daniel could not understand, but he could feel the weight of them. They were words of love, of goodbye, and his chest tightened with anger. "No." Daniel said sharply, "Don't give up on her, not yet." His voice was firm. And the mother blinked, staring at him as if seeing a spark of fire in his eyes. Daniel set the baby gently on the ground, his hands pressing her chest again, rhythm steady. Breath after breath, he pushed forward even as doubt clawed at him. He had no machines, no medical scanners, only his 2 hands and stubborn will. The mother placed her hands over his, lending her trembling strength. "Please, wake up," she begged, her voice breaking. "My little star, please come back." The baby's chest rose slightly under their combined effort, then fell again. No sound, no cry. The silence pressed in, like a heavy weight. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment, forcing himself not to give in to despair. His mind raced. He needed another way. He needed to think beyond human methods. As the cold night deepened, Daniel realized something frightening. He was the only one who would fight for this child. One human against an entire colony that had already turned its back. And in that moment, a dangerous thought came to him. Maybe the only way to save her was to risk everything, to try something no human had ever done before. The choice was his, and time was slipping away. Asterisk. The first attempt. Daniel sat on the cold ground, the baby still in his arms. Her small chest unmoving, her glow faint like a dying candle. The alien mother knelt beside him, her hands twisting nervously, her eyes locked on her child. She whispered again and again, "Please, wake up, please." Daniel's mind raced. He had done chest compressions. He had given breaths, yet nothing worked. This was not a human baby. Her body was different, her lungs smaller, her skin strange. The shape of her chest unusual. If he pressed too hard, he might break her. If he pressed too soft, she might slip away. The mother leaned closer, her voice trembling. "Do you know what you are doing, human?" Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted to say yes, but honesty pressed against his tongue. "No," he admitted softly, "but I will not stop trying." The mother covered her face, sobbing. While the crowd around them grew restless, some whispered, louder, their words sharp, "He is wasting time." One sneered, "The human wants to be a hero, but he will only fail." Daniel shut out their voices. He tilted the baby's head gently, opened her tiny mouth and gave another breath. Her chest rose a little, then fell back with no sound. No cry. Frustration bit into him. He pressed his hands lightly on her chest. Steady rhythm, counting inside his head. 1, 2, 3. Breath. 1, 2, 3. Breath. Minutes stretched into eternity. The mother clutched her child's blanket, rocking slightly, her face pale. Daniel's arms trembled, his throat dry. He whispered, "Come on, little one, fight." Just one breath, just one cry. Then, suddenly, the baby's small fingers twitched, just a little. The mother gasped, her eyes wide. She moved. She cried. Daniel froze for a second. Hope rising, he pressed again, gave another breath. The baby's lips shifted color slightly, faint pink mixing with blue. But just as quick, her glow dimmed again. Her chest fell still, the movement gone. Hope slipped like sand through fingers. The mother screamed in despair, clutching Daniel's arm. "Don't let her go." Daniel bit down on his fear, his heart pounding. He remembered something from his training on Earth. Sometimes oxygen alone wasn't enough. Sometimes warmth mattered. Sometimes the body needed more than air. He pulled off his jacket quickly, wrapping it around the baby, holding her close against his chest. The mother looked at him with confusion. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice shaking, keeping her warm. Daniel said, his voice low, "Her body is too cold. She can't fight if she's freezing." The baby's skin pressed against his. Cool to the touch, he kept pressing her chest with careful rhythm, his breath steady. The crowd whispered again, calling it useless, calling him mad. But Daniel ignored them. The mother leaned in, placing her hand over her baby's head, whispering in her language, words of comfort, words of love. Daniel could not understand, but he felt the meaning in her trembling voice. For one moment, the baby's chest fluttered. So faint, it was like a breeze. The mother gasped again, tears filling her eyes. "She's still fighting," Daniel said quickly, his voice firm. "She's not done yet." But the flutter faded, leaving stillness once more. Silence pressed in heavier than before. The aliens around them shook their heads. Some turned to leave, convinced it was over. Daniel's eyes darkened with determination. He looked at the mother and whispered, "This isn't over. I'll find a way. I don't care what they say. I will find a way." The mother stared at him, her face streaked with tears, her lips trembling. And for the first time that night, she nodded slowly, as if placing all her faith in the one human who refused to give up. And in the shadows of the colony, while the rest walked away, the first true attempt to save the alien child had only just begun. Asterisk, the mother's secret. The night grew colder, the air sharp against the skin. Daniel still held the baby close under his jacket, her glow faint and fading. The alien mother knelt beside him. Her tears had slowed, but her eyes were filled with heavy fear. Daniel looked at her, his voice steady but urgent. "Tell me, is there anything I should know? Something about her body, her birth, anything. I can't help her if I don't understand." The mother froze, her lips pressed tightly together. She lowered her gaze to the ground. For a long moment, she said nothing. Daniel's chest tightened. "Please," he begged softly. "If there is something hidden, you must tell me. Your baby's life depends on it." Finally, her shoulders shook. She whispered, She was never supposed to be born." Her voice cracked with the weight of shame and fear. Daniel frowned, confusion running through his mind. What do you mean? The mother glanced at the shadows around them, making sure none of the other aliens remained close. Most had walked away, but a few still watched from the distance. Their eyes cold as stone, she leaned closer. Whispering with trembling lips, "Her father is not from my people. He is from another race, a union forbidden by our laws." Her voice was bitter, heavy with pain. "The leaders call her a cursed child, unfit to live. That is why no one will. Help me. They believe she must die." Daniel's heart clenched. The cruelty of it burned like fire in his chest. He looked down at the baby. Her tiny face peaceful, even in her struggle. Because of who her father is, they want her gone. He asked, his voice sharp. The mother nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. They would rather see her grave than her smile. For a moment, Daniel was silent, rage mixing with sorrow. On Earth, he had seen hate too. People dividing themselves for skin, for blood, for things that never mattered. And now here, across the stars, the same cruel thinking lived. The mother gripped his sleeve. Her voice shaking, "They will not forgive me either. If they know you saved her, they will punish us both. They will call it blasphemy." Daniel met her eyes, his jaw firm. "Then let them try. I won't let them take her life. Not while I still breathe." His words were steady. Like iron, the mother stared at him, stunned. For a long time she had carried her secret alone, hiding from her people, fearing every glance. But now, here in the darkest moment, a human stranger had chosen her side. Her tears flowed again. This time not only of fear, but of something fragile hope. Daniel pulled the baby closer. He could feel her weak pulse. Faint, but there, she was still fighting. He thought of the medical training he had, but he knew it wasn't enough. Alien blood, alien lungs. He needed to combine what he knew with what she could tell him. "Tell me about your people," he said quickly. "How do your healers treat breathing sickness? What plants, what rituals, anything. I need every detail." The mother nodded weakly, wiping her tears. "There is a herb, red leaf from the high cliffs. Our healers use it to open airways. But it must be mixed carefully. Too much, and it poisons. Too little, and it does nothing." Daniel's mind raced. He had seen the plant during his work in the colony fields. He knew where to find it, but he would need time. And the baby did not have much left. The mother clutched her child tighter. Whispering softly, "She is half-blood. She has been cursed since her first breath. But to me, she is everything." Her voice cracked. "I cannot lose her." Daniel placed his hand gently over hers. His voice strong. "She is not cursed. She is alive, and as long as she breathes, I will fight for her." In that moment, the mother looked at him not as a stranger, not as an outsider, but as the only shield between her child and death. And though the colony whispered of curses and fate, Daniel knew one truth: sometimes the greatest miracle was simply refusing to give up. Asterisk. The human method. Daniel's breath was heavy as he stood outside the colony square. The baby wrapped tightly in his jacket. The alien mother walked beside him, her eyes swollen from crying. Her steps weak, but filled with determination. They could not stay under the eyes of those who wanted the child gone. They needed space. They needed time. He led her to a small workshop on the edge of the colony, a place where he repaired engines and farming tools. Inside, it smelled of metal and oil. Not healing herbs, but it was private. Safe from the cold stares of the others, the mother sat down quickly. Clutching her baby, Daniel paced, his mind racing. "The red leaf herb," he muttered. "I've seen it on the cliffs, but I don't have any here." He ran a hand through his messy hair, frustration pressing into him. The mother's voice was low, shaking without it. "She cannot breathe, but even with it, it is dangerous." Her eyes closed as if she hated the truth. "Our healers never use it on half-bloods. They say it makes their hearts fail faster. Daniel froze, staring at her, so they never tried, or they refused. The mothers. Lips trembled. They refused. She admitted, to them, she is already gone. Daniel clenched his fists, anger sparking in his chest. He could not accept that. He turned to his shelves. Pulling out small bottles, bits of wire, tools, and scraps of cloth. He did not have alien medicine, but he had his Earth knowledge. He spoke quickly, half to himself, half to her. On Earth, when a baby cannot breathe, sometimes we use warm steam. It opens the lungs. Sometimes we use gentle pressure to clear the throat. Sometimes even herbs that help the airway. Maybe I can make something similar with what we have here. The mother's eyes widened slightly. She looked at him with a mixture of fear and awe. You would risk mixing human ways with ours? She asked. Daniel met her gaze firmly. If it gives her a chance, yes. He quickly heated water over a small burner, placing a bowl nearby. Steam rose into the air. He gestured, hold her close. Let her breathe it, even if only a little. The mother leaned forward, cradling her baby near the rising mist. Her eyes fixed on the tiny chest. Minutes passed. The baby twitched faintly. Her lips shifting color again. Daniel's heart jumped, but then it faded back to stillness. Daniel grit his teeth, pulling a small pouch from his supplies. Inside were dried green leaves from earth plants, bitter but harmless. Back home, mothers made teas from this for sick children. Maybe it can help a little. He crushed the leaves into the hot water. The scent, sharp and earthy, filled the room. The mother's eyes glistened as she watched. You humans. You use simple things, yet you fight so hard. Her voice was soft, as if she could not understand why he cared. Daniel said nothing. He only pressed his ear to the baby's tiny chest. Hearing faint rattles, but no breath, frustration clawed at him. He tried again, pressing carefully, giving breaths, warming her with steam and his jacket. The baby coughed faintly, a weak sound like a whisper. Daniel froze, hope sparking. She coughed. He said quickly, his eyes meeting the mother's. She gasped, clutching her child tighter. She heard you, she whispered, tears rolling down her cheeks, but the cough was faint, too faint. It vanished as soon as it came. Silence fell again. Daniel pressed his hands to the table, his body shaking with both hope and anger. It's not enough. I need the red leaf, he whispered, his voice hard. He looked at the mother. Tell me where the cliffs are. I will get it. The mother's face went pale. No, it is too dangerous. The cliffs are guarded. They know no one should take it without permission, if they catch you. Daniel interrupted, his eyes blazing. If I don't go, she dies. If I do go, maybe she lives. There is no choice. The mother stared at him, torn between fear and desperate hope, and in her silence, Daniel had already made his decision. The human method had given the baby a moment of breath, but to save her, he would have to step into danger and face the colony's wrath. Asterisk the awakening struggle. The cliffs rose high above the colony, sharp like teeth against the night sky. The wind howled through them, carrying dust and strange cries from the creatures that lived in the cracks. Daniel climbed carefully, his hands scraped, his breath heavy. But he did not slow down. Behind him, far below, the alien mother waited in the workshop, holding her baby close, whispering prayers. Her eyes fixed on the door, hoping every sound was Daniel returning. Her heart torn between fear of losing her child and fear of losing the human who dared to help. Daniel's eyes searched the rocky path, his memory guiding him. He had seen the red leaf plant before during his work in the colony fields. Small, with glowing veins across the leaves. Dangerous if misused, but now it was their only hope. He spotted it clinging to the side of the cliff, glowing faint red under the starlight. The wind whipped around him, threatening to pull him off balance. He reached out carefully, his fingers brushing the leaf. A hiss came from above. Daniel froze. A shadow shifted. One of the cliff guardians slithered down, a reptile-like alien beast, its eyes glowing yellow, its fangs dripping with venom. The colony had not lied about the cliffs being dangerous. Daniel's pulse hammered, but he refused to turn back. The baby's face flashed in his mind, her tiny body struggling, her faint cough. He grabbed the plant quickly, tearing it free. The beast lunged, claws scraping the rock where he had stood a second before. With the herb clutched in his hand, Daniel scrambled down, rocks cutting his palms. The guardian hissed again, but did not follow. The cliff swallowed it back into shadow. Daniel's chest heaved. But his grip never loosened on the herb. When he returned to the workshop, the mother gasped at the sight of him. His clothes torn, his hands bleeding, but in his fist was the glowing red leaf. She covered her mouth with shaking hands, whispering, "You truly went." Daniel gave no speech, only placed the herb on the table, crushing part of it carefully, mixing it with the steaming water. He worked with precision, remembering her warning. Too much and it poisons, too little and it does nothing. His hand shook, but his focus was sharp. The mother rocked the baby gently, whispering, "Hold on, little star. Just hold on." Her tears dripped onto the baby's cloth. Daniel dipped a small cloth into the mixture, squeezed out a drop, and placed it against the baby's lips. "Come on," he muttered, his voice low but fierce. "Take it. Breathe." For a moment, nothing happened. The silence stretched like an endless wall. Then the baby's lips twitched, her throat moved, and she gave a faint, rattling breath. The mother gasped, clutching Daniel's arm. Her eyes wide with hope, she breathed. She cried. Daniel leaned closer, pressing his ear against the baby's chest. Her heartbeat fluttered weakly, but it was there. He tried again, giving another careful drop. Then pressed gently on her chest in rhythm. Breath after breath, the mother held her child's hand, whispering words of love, her voice breaking. The baby coughed suddenly, a tiny, desperate sound. Then another. Her body jerked weakly, her chest lifted once, then again. Daniel's eyes lit with fierce determination. That's it. Fight, little one, fight. But the struggle was not over. The baby's breaths came uneven, shallow, and weak. Every rise of her chest was followed by a frightening pause. The mother trembled, her whole body shaking with fear. She is still slipping away. Daniel wiped sweat from his brow, his voice steady. She's fighting now, but she needs more time, more warmth, more care. We can keep her alive. The mother looked at him with wide, tear-filled eyes, as if she was seeing something impossible, a human who would not surrender. And as the baby coughed once more, clinging weakly to life, the night outside seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see if the tiny star would shine again. Asterisk. The price of help. The baby's small body trembled in the mother's arms. Her tiny breaths, shallow but present. Daniel leaned over the table, wiping sweat from his forehead. Every muscle in his body, aching from the climb, from the fear, from the endless tension. The mother's eyes never left her child, whispering words in her own language, words Daniel could not understand, but felt in his heart. Her hands shook as she stroked the baby's glowing skin, her voice soft and trembling. "Stay with me, little star. Stay." Daniel's mind raced. The red leaf herb had worked enough to bring a flicker of life back. But the baby was still dangerously weak. Every second counted. And the colony's patrols could discover them at any moment. Can she survive without the full treatment? The mother asked, her voice quivering, fear sharp in every word. Daniel shook his head. No. She needs more of the herb, properly prepared, and warmth. Constant warmth. We have to keep her alive until morning. He glanced at the dim lights. Outside the workshop, the night's still dark and heavy. Then I can try to reach the healer on the other side of the cliffs, if they will help. The mother's face paled. The healers. They will punish us, punish you, she whispered, her voice full of dread. Daniel met her gaze firmly. Better punishment than losing her, he said, and for the first time. The mother saw the steel behind his eyes, the human determination that refused to give up. She nodded slowly, swallowing fear, and together they worked quietly. The mother holding the baby close, Daniel tending the herb, mixing it carefully into warm water, dabbing it drop by drop onto the baby's lips. Every motion deliberate, every second precious. Minutes passed like hours. The baby's body began to respond, her chest rising a little higher with each breath, her color returning slightly, a soft glow lighting her skin. The mother gasped, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. She is breathing. She is breathing, but their relief was cut short. A sudden noise at the door made both of them freeze. The colony's patrol, voices harsh and demanding. Shadows moving against the workshop walls. Daniel's heart pounded. He looked at the mother. Get her ready to move quickly, he whispered, gathering supplies. The baby weak but clinging to life, her tiny hands gripping the mother's fingers. The mother wrapped the baby in thick cloth, lifting her gently, careful not to jostle her fragile body. Daniel grabbed a small lantern, its light low so it wouldn't attract attention, and together they slipped toward the back door. The patrol's voices grew louder. A metallic clang echoed behind them as someone tried the workshop door. Daniel and the mother held their breath, their hearts racing faster than the baby's fragile pulse. They moved through the narrow alleys, dark and twisting, Daniel guiding them by memory. Every shadow a potential threat, every sound a warning. The mother whispered softly to the baby, words of comfort, of hope, words Daniel could feel, but not hear. Finally, they reached the edge of the colony, the cold night air biting at their skin. Daniel looked back once, the lights of the patrols flickering behind them. Then forward to the cliffs where the healer might wait. The mother's arms trembled. Holding her baby close, you risked everything for her, she said, voice shaking. Daniel looked down at the baby, now breathing steadily but still weak. I risk everything for life, he replied softly. No one deserves to die like this. Not because of fear, not because of laws, not because of hate, the mother nodded, a quiet gratitude in her eyes. And for the first time in a long night, the darkness felt less heavy, the baby's glow a small beacon of hope. But Daniel knew the night was far from over, the climb too. The healers would be dangerous, and the colony would not forgive this act of defiance. Yet in that moment, holding a fragile life between them, the human and the alien mother understood something powerful. Sometimes courage and care were stronger than fear, stronger than law, stronger than hate, and the baby, tiny and trembling. Was there reason to fight? Asterisk the healer's trial. The cliffs rose sharply ahead, jagged rocks cutting into the dark sky. Daniel held the baby tightly, careful not to shake her. The alien mother following closely, her glowing eyes wide with fear and hope, every step a risk. Behind them, the colony's patrols could hear their footsteps, voices shouting, metallic clanging, threatening to catch them at any moment. Daniel's mind raced. He had to move faster, but the baby was too weak to rush. Finally, they reached the entrance to the healer's cave, carved into the cliffside. Faint light spilling out, warm and inviting compared to the cold night outside. Daniel knocked, and a deep voice answered, "Who dares enter the healer's domain?" The mother stepped forward, trembling but determined. "Please, my baby." "She won't wake," she pleaded, her words laced with desperation. Her glowing hands clutching the baby tightly. A shadow moved inside the cave. and a tall figure appeared, cloaked in strange robes, eyes glinting with knowledge and power. "This is no ordinary case," the healer said, stepping closer, scanning the baby carefully. "Life hangs by a thread. Why should I help?" Daniel swallowed his fear, his voice steady. "Because she is alive, and every life deserves a chance. I risked everything to bring her here, and I will not fail her." His words carried a quiet strength, a human determination that could not be broken. The healer studied him for a long moment, then gestured toward the inner chamber. "Bring her in. But know this, the trial is not simple. Only those who prove worth and courage can succeed." Inside, the chamber glowed with soft, pulsating light. Strange plants and crystals hovering in the air, the scent of herbs thick, magical, yet alien. The baby's breathing was faint, and Daniel placed her carefully on a soft bed. The healer moved around the baby, chanting in a language that seemed to vibrate in the air. Energy flowing from the crystals into the child, the mother held her hand to the baby's forehead, whispering softly, her tears glowing faintly in the light. Hours passed, the tension unbearable. Daniel and the mother watched every movement, every flicker of the baby's chest, the healer's eyes intense, their gaze never leaving the fragile life before them. Then, the baby's tiny fingers twitched, a faint glow spreading across her skin. The healer's chant slowed, energy swirling gently and finely. The baby opened her eyes, weak but alive, a soft glow of life returning. The mother gasped, tears flowing freely, clutching her child tightly. "She's awake. She's awake." Daniel smiled, relief washing over him, exhaustion forgotten for the moment. The healer nodded. "Courage, compassion, and selflessness. These are the trials you passed. Remember, life is fragile, but those who fight for it can achieve the impossible." Outside, the first light of dawn touched the cliffs. The colony far below, unaware of the miracle that had taken place. The human and the alien mother stood together, holding the baby. A new bond formed, stronger than fear or danger. Daniel looked at the mother. "She will be safe now," he said quietly, and she nodded, gratitude shining in her eyes. The baby cooed softly, reaching for the mother, tiny fingers curling around her hand. And for the first time in many long hours, the cliffside felt peaceful, the night's dangers fading. But Daniel knew their journey was not over. The colony would not forgive this defiance. Yet, in that moment, the tiny life they had saved proved something bigger. Humanity could shine even in the darkest corners of the galaxy. The colony's wrath, the sun had barely risen, casting pale light over the jagged cliffs. But Daniel and the alien mother could feel it. The colony knew they had taken the baby, and the hunters would come fast and unforgiving. The mother clutched her child tightly, glowing eyes scanning the horizon, fear and determination battling within her. Daniel tightened his grip on the baby's small bundle, heart pounding, mind racing. "We have to move before they find us," he whispered. They made their way down the rocky path, careful not to slip. Every sound of loose stones echoing like gunfire in the quiet morning. Behind them, distant shouts grew louder, the colony's patrols spreading, searching, ready to punish. Suddenly, a low hum vibrated in the air. Warning lights flashing on the cliff walls, mechanical drones lifting into the sky. Scanning for life, the mother's glow intensified, shielding the baby, but it would not last forever. Daniel darted forward, scanning for a hiding place. Then, spotted a narrow crevice in the cliffside, almost invisible, just wide enough for the three of them to slip inside. "Quick, this way," Key urged, and they squeezed into the shadowy gap. Inside, the crevice twisted and turned, barely wide enough to walk, the mother's hands gently stroking her baby. "Will we make it?" she whispered, voice trembling. eyes glistening with tears. Daniel shook his head. We have to. We cannot stop now. Outside, the drones hovered, scanning beams slicing through the rocks. The colony's voice booming from speakers. Return. The child. You will face consequences if you do not comply. Daniel clenched his jaw, his hands steady despite the fear. We are not leaving her behind. She is alive, and we will protect her. No one stops that. As they moved deeper into the cliff, a hidden alcove appeared. Covered with strange alien vines glowing faintly in the dark, Daniel led them inside, collapsing against the wall, breathing hard, the mother placing the baby gently in her arms. The drones hovered near the cliff entrance, scanning every corner. But the alcove's natural camouflage kept them hidden. Daniel peered through a small gap, watching the patrols below, calculating their next move. Hours passed. The mother whispering softly to her child, singing songs from her planet, glowing tears falling onto the baby's forehead. Daniel felt the weight of responsibility pressing down, yet a quiet determination filled him. He would not fail. Finally, as the sun began to set, painting the cliffs in shades of orange and red, the patrols left, assuming the fugitives had fled. Daniel and the mother exhaled in relief, but the danger was far from over. The colony would not forgive. The mother looked at Daniel, eyes shining with gratitude. You risked everything for my child. How can I ever thank you? Daniel smiled faintly, exhaustion in his voice, by keeping her alive. That is thanks enough. The baby cooed softly, reaching for Daniel's finger, tiny hands grasping his, and in that moment, the trio knew something profound. No matter how cruel or powerful the world became, life, hope, and courage could not be extinguished. But as night fell, a chilling thought lingered. The colony's wrath was only beginning, and tomorrow would test them all more than they had ever imagined. Humanity shines. Night had fully settled over the cliffs. The sky painted with stars that shone cold and distant, but within the hidden alcove, a small warmth glowed the baby's soft breathing, the mother's gentle hands, and Daniel's unwavering watch. They knew it was only a matter of time before the colony discovered them, that the punishment for defiance would be harsh. Yet none of them could abandon hope. The baby's fragile life had become a beacon, a test of courage for everyone. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed from below. The colony had returned, larger this time. Armed patrols moving with precision, mechanical. Drones scanning every rock and crevice, the air tense with danger. Daniel stood, holding the baby close, his eyes scanning for a path. We cannot fight them all. But we don't need to, he whispered, his mind racing for a plan. The mother's glow flared brightly, her hands hovering over the baby, as if drawing strength from the tiny life she protected. Do you think we can survive? She asked. Voice shaking yet determined, Daniel shook his head. We survive not by running, but by standing together. Humanity, courage. They are stronger than fear. He stepped into the open, holding the baby high, letting her soft glow shine in the darkness. The alien patrols froze, unsure of what they saw. The baby's life pulsing like a heartbeat of light. The mother joined him, standing tall, her tears glowing. Energy radiating, a mix of desperation and hope. She is alive. And you will not take her, she declared, voice ringing across the cliffs. Something shifted in the colony. Their machines paused, the drones hesitant, the human courage and alien hope combining into a force they had never expected. The babies. Life illuminated more than the darkness. It illuminated their hearts, slowly, one by one. The patrols lowered their weapons, unsure. Moved by the undeniable truth, life, innocence, and courage cannot be defeated by fear alone. Daniel handed the baby back to her mother, their eyes meeting, unspoken understanding passing between them that the bond forged in danger was stronger than any command, any order from above. The colony commander appeared at the edge of the cliffs, observing silently, then finally nodded. You have proven something. Remarkable, the baby's life will not be taken. Go in peace. Relief washed over Daniel and the mother, tears flowing freely. The baby cooing. Her tiny hands reaching for her mother. Life restored and hope reborn as dawn broke the cliffs. No longer seemed threatening, but alive with possibility. Daniel watched the mother cradle her child, a human and an alien, united by courage, sacrifice, and the extraordinary power of empathy. For the first time in weeks, the air was calm, the night's dangers fading. The galaxy seemed less cold, and in that quiet moment, Daniel realized this is what it means to be human, to rise when hope is dim. To protect life against impossible odds, the baby stirred, glowing faintly. And the mother smiled, softly whispering, "Thank you, human. You have saved her." And us all, Daniel smiled back, exhaustion mixed with pride, knowing that even in a galaxy filled with danger, darkness, and indifference, humanity shines brightest when it matters most. And with that, the cliffside was no longer a place of fear, but a monument to courage, hope, and the bond between worlds. The story of a human who would not let an alien baby die. Echoing across the stars, life had won, courage had triumphed, and humanity indeed had shown its greatest power. Asterisk.